Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, Chris. Yeah, we didn't talk about who's doing the intro, so
Nope.
I'll do it.
Go for it.
Welcome to AZ BRANDCAST, where we talk to all sorts of awesome people about the power of brand and how to build great brands in our remarkable state of Arizona.
Yep.
We're your hosts, Mike Jones and
Chris Stadler.
And today, we're not actually going to talk to anyone awesome unless we're considering ourselves
You're awesome, Mike.
You're awesome too, Chris.
Our sound engineer is awesome.
Yeah, Kendra's awesome. Yeah, so I guess we are talking to awesome people. But we don't have a special guest on today. Because what are we going to be doing, Chris?
We're going to be talking about the state of the brand, kind of like the State of the Union address only for the state of Arizona's brand.
That's awesome.
We're going to try to figure that out a little bit, maybe kind of draw some conclusion from the year's efforts.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're going to take a little look at what's been going on in Arizona and think through some of the guests that we've had on, the insights we've gathered from them about the brand of Arizona, and maybe come to some conclusions, maybe make some hypotheses.
Haphazardly and with reckless abandon, draw conclusions.
Yeah, because, it's the end of the year, and now is the time to just let everything hang out, right?
Let it all hang out.
Let it all hang out. Before 2020 rolls around and smacks us back into reality.
Do you want me to do the CCAZ?
Always.
Always? Okay, cool. So, as everybody probably knows, we're sponsored by Conscious Capitalism Arizona. Conscious Capitalism Arizona is the local version of the worldwide Conscious Capitalism CCI, right?
Yeah, the movement of conscious capitalism.
Words are hard. Yes, thank
you.
So, so this local chapter of Conscious Capitalism Incorporated has tons of local events and provides resources for business leaders to instill a higher purpose in their company and engage all their stakeholders, all the stakeholders, not just employees, not just shareholders, but makes a big system out of it. A big,
systemic pie.
Mutually benefit. Yes, exactly. So you want to be conscious, but don't know how? Get in touch. ConsciousCapitalismAZ.com. That's Conscious Capitalism with a little AZ at the end.com.
Or if that's too long, ccarizona.org will also get you to the exact same website.
That's even easier.
It's less letters, which means less keystrokes, which means less room for error and less calories burned. So if you're looking to save some energy before, the big festivities in the next few weeks, now's the time to plug in ccarizona.org and save a few calories.
Because we all want to eat a whole bunch of food.
Yeah.
And burn fewer calories.
It's like a website domain, but the light version.
So if you want to lose weight, ConsciousCapitalismAZ.com. But if you want to save energy, ccarizona.org. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
And there's some cool events coming up. Conscious Capitalism Arizona is hosting one actually tonight at the Better Business Bureau at 5:30. So for all those listening live, you can sign up or you can even just show up. And then there are at least 3 events coming up in January. There are Conscious Business Chats that roll around every second Friday of the month from 9 to 10, and they're in all different locations across the valley and even in Tucson. Maybe one day we'll have one in Flagstaff too. And if people weren't aware, I'm saying we because I actually am on the board for Conscious Capitalism Arizona.
Yeah, you are. Quick question.
Yeah.
About that.
Quick ants.
So can people go there and actually talk about, all right, how do I actually do conscious capitalism? Will people get ideas? Will there be conversations?
So. They better.
Will people be willing to talk about it?
Yep.
It's not just like this networking event, right? It's like
no.
You go and you talk about real.
Yeah. So for example, tonight's event is all about social accounting. So how can you create a culture of accounting for not just your financials, but also your social interactions, your relationships, for all of your stakeholders within your business, which is a really interesting concept. And then also our conscious business chats right now, those are smaller groups of people within your kind of neighborhood, your area, where you can dig in on the conscious business audit. So you can even kind of self-assess yourself in your business, or if you're working with clients and you want to kind of help them kind of live out their business more consciously, have them go through it, or maybe you assess it for them and then, wrap them on the knuckles with a ruler at the end of it. No, that's not conscious.
Sounds like That sounds like parochial school.
That sounds a little bit
know
more
what I
like
almost
parochial
said,
school.
but I didn't.
Yeah. So, and that's what the chats are right now is like, hey, let's get together. Let's meet up in a smaller group. Let's kind of talk about what's working, not working in our business from a conscious business, conscious capitalism standpoint. Maybe like hone in on a specific attribute from that audit and hash it out. How do we do that practically? What are the how-tos? What's working? What's not working? And yeah, we're really trying to make this as practical as possible.
Love it. You know me, love practical.
I know you. I know you, Chris. I know you love practical.
Do you want to jump into, oh shoot, I didn't think of my answer for the icebreaker.
That's great. I'll throw it at me first so I can stumble my way through it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of my favorite thing. Okay, what's something good that happened in 2019? Something good.
Well, let me go through my regular list. Did I have any children born in 2019?
Yeah.
No.
Better clear that list
first.
first.
I know. Easy. This is super easy. So on the Resound side, so we'll go there. Resound. Okay. We added a new partner and team member. Name is Sam Pagel.
What?
From Pelican Media. He actually merged his business in with ours because he's so amazingly awesome that he wanted to join forces with us. And so I'm like, I've been stoked. I know you've been stoked, Chris. Yep. We talk about like,
I work with him every day, and yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Sam is now our chief creative officer. He leads all of our creative efforts, which is why he's not in this room, because he is working his butt off on all the amazing projects we're finishing up for clients before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he does video production and graphic design and all sorts of he's a really super talented creative dude. So
he's a superstar.
He just like took us to the next level. I hate that phrase, but next level.
I know, but it's like true with him. You know?
It is true.
So, okay, so you want mine?
Yeah, I want yours. And you can't use Sam. I claim that one.
Okay. I love Sam, but that won't be my one. I did have my 20th wedding anniversary.
Dude,
this year,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's good,
20 years.
Yep.
Shauna's a pretty amazing person.
Yeah, So you're putting the credit where it belongs.
I know how it works.
Yeah. Yes, it does work that way.
Yeah.
So that was probably the big thing there.
That's
and
awesome.
So 2019. Yep.
When was that? Was
August 27th.
Yeah, August.
Yep.
For a second, I thought you said yesterday, and I was like freaking out. Like, holy crap! How did I totally miss that?
No, we went to Sedona.
Yep.
And with the kids and everything.
That's awesome.
Saw Red Rocks, and
you incorporated the children into your 20th anniversary. How 20th anniversary of you?
I
mean, when you have kids,
it's a story for another podcast.
That's a whole different podcast.
Yes.
No, that's awesome.
So, given our limited time, let us go into our topic. The topic. The sound engineer is commenting, but I can't hear what she's saying because she's not in the mic.
Ooh, Kendra, you've been called out.
Eat the microphone, Kendra. So we talked about it. We thought, okay, here's what we'll do: 3 headlines from the year that we think would show us a little bit about what's going on in Arizona. Maybe provide some backdrop, maybe some the fodder for analysis, right? And then talk through our guests.
Yeah,
like go through our guests, maybe summarize what they talked about, and then pull out a couple of things that we just.
Yeah, and I mean it's going to be a bummer because most of these are like lame. So lame. No, the complete opposite. We had some amazing guests this year.
I know. I'm looking at it. I'm just like, how?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. That Sam Pagel guy, though.
Yeah.
I can't believe we let him on the podcast.
But let's just get into that. So Thomas Barr at AZ First.
Yep.
Right. He talked about buying local.
Mm-hmm.
We challenged him a little bit and just like, well, what's I'm not going to buy an iPhone made in, I don't know, Sierra Vista or,
are there any?
Douglas. Yeah. Yep. And so, we challenged him a little bit in that. He kind of, he challenged us to just think more about more opportunities to do that. What else?
Yeah. I mean, that one was cool because it was this, I think, cool conversation around like, okay, even being conscious in your purchasing, right? And finding, what do you care about? What are your core values and how does that drive your purchasing behavior? And, for some, it's like, hey, I want to buy local because I want to support people who live here locally and who are starting business here or have a business here locally. And for some, it's like, no, I have this like deep appreciation for like things that are grown locally, right? Like I think a lot of people that purchase locally, especially when they're looking at food, right? They're like, no, I want stuff that's, farm to table, safer, more, ecologically sound, whatever. And then for like some product purchases, it's like, yeah, your core value is still going to be savings, right? So I think that was a really good conversation and discussion.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of get some different viewpoints and stuff on that.
That was good. Who's next on the list? Mike Jones.
Yeah. Let's talk about Phoenix Startup Week. Yeah, Phoenix Startup Week.
Yep.
Hopefully we didn't talk about me too much, but yeah, we talked about Phoenix Startup Week, which interestingly enough is coming back around in February.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, and that was the site. So that must have been February. We talked to Mike Jones.
Probably. Yeah.
So. Can you do me a favor? Can you talk about him in the third person?
Yeah. So Mike Jones came on and talked about Phoenix Startup Week and got really passionate about startups.
So tell us what's Startup Week about, real quick.
Yeah, so as Mike Jones informed us, Phoenix Startup Week,
as you may recall,
he came on and talked about it. How many times can I refer to myself in the third person?
We'll find out, won't we?
Drinking game. So Phoenix Startup Week is Arizona's largest entrepreneurial event, and we draw almost 2,000 people each year to a really cool 6-day conference. We draw speakers from all over the state as well as outside the state to come and give startups and founders, investors, and anyone really who's supporting or servicing a startup or early stage business advice.
What are 3 of your favorite sessions or programs? Because I think that would give people an example of what.
I mean, the variety is insane. So we do a lot of tracks around technologies like blockchain or fintech, so financial technologies, which was a big deal this last year with the financial, like the fintech sandbox that the state set up that allows businesses that are working in finance and technologies around finance to be able to kind of test out their technology without having to get all of the full licensing that you might need in another state. Yeah, okay. So you can kind of beta test. That was a really big deal.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's unique to Arizona?
At the moment, yeah, we were the first state to roll one out. I think other states are starting to do that too. So it's really cool. So those were 2 big ones on the technology side. There was a really interesting track last year around the e-gaming industry. So like there's this massively growing industry around the entertainment of gaming, watching people game or game competitively, like video games, like playing video games competitively. And in fact, it's like the fastest growing segment of gaming, I think, in the world right now. And it's got potential to be like just massive, partially because it's like worldwide and it's really easily accessible, right? You can watch somebody game halfway around the world, like on a platform like Twitch. Which is like a live streaming service to watch people game. And there's events that are being stood up all over the world, big tournaments, and these tournaments have huge, I think one of them had like $1 million prize. Like they're legit. So There's a whole industry that's starting to blossom around that. And like, how do you build teams? How do you market teams? How do you create revenue streams within the gaming world? This idea of not just gaming as a hobby or a pastime, but gaming as an actual like professional sport. It's a professional sport.
Yeah.
It's very nascent. So we're seeing like, I think, basketball, right, is 120 years old, late 1890s was created by Mr. Naismith. That's the kind of culture, like this idea of like a game doesn't even have all of its rules yet, right? It doesn't have formal teams yet. It doesn't have formal like leagues even. And we're in the last 10 years, all that's starting to happen within e-gaming. That was a really cool session.
And then that's interesting. And then you also had one thing that I remember is an executive, kind of like a one-on-one thing where you can sign up to tell me about that.
So there's mentoring. We're going to see what that looks like this year, but in past years, we've had one-on-one mentoring where we bring in a roster of successful founders, successful executives, And if you sign up for the program, you'll get matched up with one. And you get, I think, 30 to 45 minutes to just sit and chat with them. Bring a specific problem if you want to hash that out. And then some of those actually turn into, in an informal way, turn into longer term mentoring as people kind of make a connection. We go, oh, this was a great conversation. The mentor felt really good about it. The mentee felt good. And they're like, yeah, we want to keep that going. So this next year is going to look a little different because we're going to try to actually bring in an outside organization to help us execute that. And we're still working on defining that. But I'm excited for that too. That's always a big kind of, I think, like kind of a secret. It's a hidden gem at Phoenix Startup Week. It doesn't get as much attention, but it's really cool. And then there's tons of like happy hours and opportunity to connect, meet people. I know last year there were 2 people that met at Startup Week. They were talking and realized, oh, wow, like we're working on the same product. We're like building the same product. Why don't we just join forces and do it together? And so they've spent this last year working on their product jointly.
That's awesome.
So like that's the kind of collaborative, kind of cool connections that you can make at Phoenix Startup Week.
I'm so glad we had Mike on for that.
I am so glad that he came on. Although I'll be honest, I'd be fine if he never came back. So
you're being ungenerous.
As a guest.
As a guest, yeah. It's confusing, right?
Yeah.
It's just confusing. What about Brian Moore? So Brian Moore was, back then, he was still was he president of Conscious Capitalism?
Yep.
Back
so
then?
President of Conscious Capitalism. They were ramping up for their international conference of Conscious Capitalism that was coming to Arizona. That was a really big deal. Doug Ducey, our governor, spoke at the conference. I know Brian was kind of working on pitching and getting companies involved and getting people to go. And I actually got an opportunity to attend, and that was a really cool conference. Some great speakers. John Mackey, the Motley Fool, one of the co-founders of the Motley Fool was there. I believe Raj Sisodia spoke too. I think he speaks every year. And then a whole host of other like really cool kind of case studies of companies that are incorporating conscious capitalism into their business and how it's having a major impact on all their employees, on their community, on their customers, and like some like really, really cool like feel good stories of like people being impacted in a positive way in their life while at the same time people making money, right? People seeing success through that. So that was cool.
That was a fun conference.
It was. You were there. Why am I talking about it?
I thought we were going to just talk in the third person the whole time.
Oh, okay. Chris was there.
Chris was there. It was a party. And our buddies at Max 6 were there.
Yeah,
Sam was there.
Sam was there.
That was awesome. Hanging out with him. It was a pretty fun time.
It was a fun conference.
Yeah. Hey, remember that time when one of the speakers like got done? I went up and just criticized him. Then
yeah, how'd that go down?
Yeah, no, it was good. He was just like it was awkward, like it, but whatever.
You had the guts to tell him to tell him what I couldn't tell him the year before. So
well, we were both talking about. I'm just gonna go ask him. Like, how do you handle the situation? And like give him the benefit of the doubt. See if he has an answer, and he didn't. So I was like, all right. Or at least he may have had an answer that was too long for that.
Yeah.
But then like would have been good for like beers or something.
Yeah.
So, but that was fun. That was a good conference.
It was great having Brian on. He had his book launch this year. I know that was a big deal right around that time, and it was really cool. I think Brian's got a great perspective, especially on like kind of HR and culture building, and had a really good conversation around that.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of stuff too. He has a lot of experience, and Sam.
Then we had Sam on.
Pagel.
We talked about video.
Yep.
Video is cool. I like video.
Well, yeah, and I think we talked about just the ability of video to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
You get and to convey your brand too, right? I mean, you get to package so much information in a short period of time. So if someone is engaged, they're looking at a screen, you're telling that story, you have music, you have all these cues to tell people how to feel, and when it's done right and comes together well, that's it's a huge tool for brands.
Yep, absolutely, it's huge.
Yep.
Then we had Brandon Clark on, and we talked a lot about culture, and we talked about kind of some interesting unique things that are happening in Arizona from a demographic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about how we're this kind of confluence of Southwestern cultures, right? We kind of like Midwest transplants in California, and we've got this Mexico influence, a lot of Hispanic culture here. and it's all kind of melding together in a really unique way. And what he was mentioning, what I thought was really insightful, was that when you project out kind of demographics and cultural nuances of the United States in like 15, 20, or even 30 years,
Yep.
it's that mixture.
We have that here.
We already
We already are
the mixture of like kind of cultures that are going to be kind of normalized across the United States over the coming decades.
We're a glimpse into the future.
Ooh, I like that.
So like if you need to go, like if you made a mistake in the past, Mike, you can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Back in time and then change that maybe.
And then come back here.
Depending on your theory of time travel. But yes.
Why don't you test that out? Can you make a mistake and then go and then come back?
I'm going to Oregon.
Okay.
So, you know.
But I think what you need to do, actually, total tangent here. So relativity would say that does work as long as you travel at the speed of light while you're coming back. No, that doesn't work. I have to travel.
Does Allegiant travel the speed
Somebody
of light?
has to speed.
Allegiant would have to do that.
I don't think Allegiant comes even close to the speed of light. They struggle just getting off the ground, don't they?
On time.
Oh, at least on time.
Not like Southwest, which is in Arizona headquartered, right? This is the AZ BRANDCAST.
They're not headquartered here.
No, they have a big presence,
which is disappointing. With a brand like that, not only like Southwest, right? I mean, I personally feel like Phoenix is the Southwest. Anywhere else is not the Southwest. Sorry, New Mexico. Go deal with it.
So I guess our message would be, dear Southwest, do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Plus, they have a great brand. I love their culture, their values. So.
Yeah, totally. That
should be here.
It should be.
They should bring that
it
here.
It belongs here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandon Clark, he also had his he also brought his partner in that event. So they have that event here where they had kids from different countries, even from Mexico, actually, just Mexico maybe.
Yep.
And so they visited and they did a bunch of workshops. Cartoon Network was involved.
Yeah. So they bring in brands and connect them with youth essentially, and basically created an event that allows brands to kind of see and get feedback on what youth are experiencing from a cultural standpoint that they can then use in their own like advertising, marketing, and culture building within their own companies, kind of understanding like, what is this next generation of talent or this next generation of consumers going to want? What are the cultural contexts that they find themselves in?
And it's a conference, so it's totally not creepy.
No, not creepy at all. And it's kind of run and executed by the kids.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It seemed, by all accounts, it's an awesome event.
Yeah. Then we had Chris Ronzio from Trainual.
It's so fun to say. I feel like Chris Ronzio could go up to a jukebox that wasn't working and just kind of like bang with his elbow and it would just start working.
He's the
right?
Rons.
The Rons. Yeah.
Oh.
Ronzi.
Till he jumps the shark.
We should, sorry, Chris Ronzio, if we're being disrespectful. Just having fun. Don't mean to mangle your name. But
you know what just happened to Chris Ronzio and Trainual?
No, what?
They just locked down $6.7 million in a Series A funding.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a big deal for them.
So he's not under any pressure right now, right?
So he is not listening to our podcast right now. That's really what that means.
Okay.
He is no pressure and he is not busy.
So I can call him the Rons now.
You can call him the Rons because he just got $6.75 million in Series A funding.
That's awesome.
That's like, congrats, man. Congrats,
better
Chris.
than jukebox skills.
I would argue. I would rather have that skill than the jukebox bump skill.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to call it? Jukebox bump.
Bump skill. It seems like we should just go for an acronym for that one. But next podcast, next time.
JBB.
There you go.
Anyway, but yeah, we talked to Chris about Trainual and his startup that he's founded here in Arizona. I really enjoyed his perspective on like scaling. It's interesting. As I've talked with lots of startup founders here in Arizona, his perspective, kind of his like, hey, doing it at your own speed, your own way. He's very locally focused with like trying to find talent here. That's not exclusively here, and that's not indicative of every startup founder in Arizona, but there's definitely like this kind of underlying theme I hear a lot of founders who are like, I don't necessarily want to do it the Silicon Valley way, which maybe when I hear that is often posed as like the burnout culture, like just drive people into the ground, look for shortcuts, like go find the cheapest talent all over the world, even though the quality is going to suck, right? And just kind of just go for broke. It's like, how fast can I get from 0 to 60, but I'm going to crash in the process.
It's like maybe hustle gone wrong. Kind of thing.
Hustle. Yeah, kind of hustle culture versus like, I think there's more of a sustainable value amongst a lot of startup founders in Arizona. I could be wrong.
Okay. Interesting. I
don't know. I want to test that theory.
We've heard that since we started this podcast, right? I'm thinking of way back. Who am I thinking of? I'm pointing a direction. Like I was going to know what that means.
To the north, south,
to the north,
east or west.
To the north.
Okay.
He's always on Twitter, man.
On Twitter,
he's an account planner. Why is his name not coming?
Adam
right
Pierno.
To my head? Yes, Adam Pierno, of course. Yeah. Well,
he's a little more than an account planner now.
Yeah, but I mean that's like
VP of advertising at ASU, man.
Yeah, but
at
I
least,
mean that's
last time I checked his bio.
Yeah. Well, that's how I connect. That's how I reference him. But the coming from New York.
Yep.
Right, talking about coming here and how he said it's slower but different, not worse or better.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like when I
not
first
slow
heard
in a bad way.
Right, but when I first heard that, I was like, but what do we mean like slow? But we can't. I think all right, so
sustainable.
It's not fast, but it's somehow still good. But we're not saying anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like when you hear like, oh, it's not as fast, but it's still good. It's like, but why?
Is it measured?
And so this is, I think, part of that where that starts to make sense when you start talking about culture. With Trainual having to deal with people and it's like you're training. You're not building technology and you don't have to think about people.
Yep. So obviously Chris and Trainual have a great product too. That made that conversation fun. Yeah. So they've got a cool software platform for building out all of your training documentation and processes and automating that and making onboarding really easy.
So sidebar. I wonder if we should make kind of a working hypothesis for next year that including something like, hey, how do we, is this true? Is it true that in what sense, is it true? And in what sense does Arizona kind of foster this culture of, in hindsight, right? I mean,
yeah. What's the opposite of hyper hustle?
Yeah. And what's Arizona's version? And then maybe we might even arrive at some ideas about what causes Arizona. For what kinds of companies would Arizona be a good incubator? And interesting, Mike. Interesting. After Chris Ronzio, we had Mike Spangenberg of State 48, which is super exciting because you can't drive down the freeway and not see State 48 stickers on vehicles.
Or walk around and see somebody wearing a T-shirt. And if you go on Instagram and you follow them, they're like, man, they pump out more Instagram stories than anyone in my feed. And every one of them is like, check out somebody wearing one of our shirts. And it's like, dude, does anyone in the state of Arizona not own one of your shirts? Because it feels like everyone does. And I feel like everyone should. So
they're kind of giving, it's companies like that. You have enough companies like that representing Arizona and you're going to get a point of view that develops, right? Yep. And I think that's where you see that creativity coming out. It's like the more people, everybody's like, oh, but there's already an Arizona T-shirt brand. Well, why aren't there more?
Yeah. Like, why can't there be a take on it from every, what's your viewpoint on Arizona? Create a T-shirt for it.
Totally.
And I love their brand and the way that he's trying to like combine it with like, hey, let's go find iconic Arizona-based brands like the Cardinals and the Suns, and even like he's working with one of the credit unions and some other like business brands, and saying, hey, let's do something that celebrates Arizona together in a T-shirt design that incorporates the State 48 logo and something they're doing. He's done a collaboration with Local First Arizona with Thomas Barr.
The sports teams.
Yeah, the sports teams. Tons of sports teams.
Specific, like, they've done it. Yeah. They're not just talking about it.
And each one of those shirts almost like celebrates one aspect of Arizona.
Yeah, that. And then there's that other angle too, where now all of a sudden too, so our team, our NBA team, or whoever they're working with, is not now just like, an NBA team that happens to be in Arizona, but now it's more connected, right?
Yep.
Every single time that happens,
Yep.
now there's more of a
And it will
connection.
help them win that championship.
I have no doubt in my mind.
It better. Not this year. I had high hopes.
It was a good start.
It seemed we had a great start. We've come back down to earth a little bit with the Suns.
Well, and then a couple of injuries, right?
We had one, if you want to call it an injury. Yeah.
Do we get into that, or is that next podcast?
That's
Next podcast is code for like, let's
another
not talk
podcast
about that ever again.
We're not going to talk about it.
All right.
Just go Google Ayton suspension. 25 game suspension.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we talked about this.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
All right, and then we had after Mike, we had Ryan Quinn.
Yeah, we had Ryan Quinn from BrandCast.
That guy was deep, man.
Yeah.
I like talking to him. I felt like we could add a couple more podcasts.
Yep.
If we had more time.
Yep. Yeah, super interesting perspective. Ryan's got a great perspective on kind of the startup culture and kind of the support systems and community for startups here in the Valley.
But he pivoted, right?
Yep.
So Bright Guest was a restaurant reservation kind of system, right?
Yep.
Found out that wasn't the right place for it,
Mhm.
and then pivoted, right?
Yeah, so they pivoted to nonprofits, and same technology, like the base of their technology was text messaging, right? Like being able to text message your guests when their
Tables ready.
tables ready. And I
Yeah.
think there was some other pieces of that,
Yep.
but finding that you could actually leverage that, and it was very effective for nonprofits who want to text message their donors and run campaigns that help create awareness for donors around an opportunity to give and, be a part of what the nonprofit is doing. And so they've completely pivoted, and they're doing that now, and they're having some really good success as they move into that market. So that was a really cool story of like how an idea that you start with can change, right? And being kind of flexible, like, wait, who is attracted to what we're doing? And I think there's probably a follow-up conversation in there. I don't know if it's with Ryan or not, but maybe we can have around like, how do you deal with that as a brand, right? So if your brand is focused their brand is actually kind of a case study of this. Their name, Bright Guest, implies something related to restaurants, right? The guest experience. And that doesn't translate to nonprofits.
Right.
So what do you do with that? How do you deal with that? And I know they actually are going through a rebranding process to deal with that.
Yep.
But I think that's something interesting we could dig into. Like, what do you do when you brand around an audience and find out like, oh, this audience isn't the right audience for me, for us anymore?
Yep.
Do you have to pivot the whole brand?
Yeah.
Could you have done it different? I don't know. Those are interesting questions.
Yeah, and Chris would be sorry, not Chris Ronzio. Ryan would be good to talk about with that. He seems like the kind of guy who whatever he's been through, he would understand it.
Yeah.
Not just have been knocked around by the situation and kind of happened out on the other side, but like having like he would have really understood it. And so and then we had for Design Week, right? We had AIGA,
Phoenix Design Week. We had the couple
Week.
people from AIGA. We had Karen and we had Mike. I believe it was Mike from the executive team that was putting on Phoenix Design Week.
And then Kathy.
I'm sorry, not Karen, Kathy.
Oh yeah, right.
I don't know why I said Karen. It's Kathy. That was a great conversthat just around design, and I think they have a great perspective on kind of what's going on in the design community here in Arizona. So it was really cool.
I'm kind of curious just to see how the design aesthetic like forks. There's always going to be a little bit of, wherever you are, there's always going to be a tendency, even though there might be a style that goes on, you can't help nationally and across the world, there's like, the antlers were huge for so long, just the antler illustrations, things
or like the
that.
anti-logos of the hipster kind of culture, right?
Yeah.
All these like logos that are like not really iconic. They're just very everyday objects in an X pattern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's an axe in every single one of them. Probably a campfire.
Yes, campfire. Yep.
Maybe an arrow. Yeah, and they even had a hipster logo generator online. I think
I remember seeing that.
But it's interesting to think about how Arizona could inform and kind of give back to the larger community. What point of view do we take, right? I mean, what is our culture? How does our culture inform our region? Inform or are we just because the way Arizona is going to differentiate itself and become something meaningful is if we Don't just go somewhere else and then try to say, we're the next Silicon Valley, or we're going to be the next this, or we're Arizona's version of something that really belongs somewhere else.
Hipster Portland.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
We should do that. We should just borrow Hipster Portland. Chris, you would love it. We'll bring the weather down too.
Instead of a campfire, it would just be like cacti on fire, like a saguaro.
Isn't that like illegal? I think that's illegal to go kill like saguaros.
No, so you'd have a hipster chopping down a saguaro. I don't know, man.
I would love to see
a lot of scorpion-based design.
Scorpion-based design.
Rattlesnake elements.
Unfortunately, I feel like that's what a lot of people would
Lots of broken thermometers because they just like got overloaded.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
This is like everything that people think about Arizona from a visual standpoint who don't live here. And then we all go, oh, but it's not that, right? It's not cowboy boots and scorpions and hot temperatures.
But the question is, what is it though, right? That's the positive. It's like, what's the substance of Arizona and how does that inform, right? Like not what are the tropes? What are the stereotypes? We need to fight those stereotypes. Well, you fight the stereotypes by finding out what you are about, right? So
one of the best state flag designs in the United States. That's what we're about.
One of.
Yeah, we're near the top.
Our sound engineer gave us a fist pump. Fist pump. That was a good
pump. Fist pump.
Either that or she's a trucker and she'd go, Yeah. So,
well, we are right outside.
Either way,
there's a nice
it seemed like a vote of confidence.
Yep. Vote of confidence. No, we do. We actually got called out on a great design-centered podcast called 99% Invisible. And he did a whole episode on flag design, the design of flags. And Arizona got called out as like a great example of a state flag or just a flag design in general. But amongst the 50 states, we have one of the best from a pure design standpoint because it's simple, it's iconic, it's easy to understand, it's influenced by kind of what you see here, right?
Yeah.
Like sunsets and it's cool.
Yeah, it really does capture it.
Yep. But don't put it on everything.
Right.
Because then you lose the magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like Santa Claus. Like, I wish I still believed. I don't know if that's just seasonal or just like, random or.
Yeah. I feel like you're going through something right now.
I am. I have regrets. All right. Why did I have to get up in the middle of the night when that time as a kid?
That's funny. And then
Dad was drinking the milk and the cookies.
Who do we have on next, Chris?
We had Americans for Prosperity.
Yeah, we had Steve Shattuck on.
Steve Shattuck. Yep.
That was a really fun conversation.
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
He was another Ryan Quinn level conversation.
Yep.
He knew a lot of history about Arizona, which is something I'd like to see more of, if we can get more of that conversation going on the podcast. Because so much of that informs, it can inform the design community. It can inform, he talked about cowboy poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Yep.
We need a cowboy poet on this show.
We totally do. I'm writing it down. Cowboy poet. How do you spell cow? I know how to spell poet.
You're making us look bad, Mike. We're Arizona pie.
But I'm from
you smelled your share of cows.
But I'm from the big
driving
city.
On the freeway.
All right, Chris.
The big city.
And I don't live in Cowpatch Town.
Mesa is the third largest city, right? Isn't that the?
It is second or third largest, I believe.
Though someone was saying, I don't know if that's true or not, but they were saying first is Phoenix, second is
Tucson,
third is
Mesa.
Okay,
I couldn't remember if we were bigger or smaller than Tucson.
It wasn't here, but I heard that.
Yep. No, Mesa's pretty big.
It's big.
There's a lot of people in Mesa.
No cows though, that you know.
None around my house.
Right.
No. Actually, we that's not true. I was going to say something that
I live in
true.
Queen Creek, and so I smell the cows, but then I'm rewarded because I drive by Santan Flat, if anybody knows what that is, which is one of the coolest cowboy bars, and they make the best steak.
All right,
so I drive by and I smell the smoke and the steak.
Yeah,
and
so you're getting the double cow smell.
I'm getting the worst.
The worst and the best.
The worst end. and the best of the cow. Americans for Prosperity. Yeah. And so I want to have him on again. I mean, they could talk about so much. Education. They have Boaz Whitbeck, who is just an education wonk, I guess. Just understands it so well. And then just a lot to say about, where they bring a point of view about where maybe a legitimate point of view where Arizona could be going, Yep. And then one of our strengths, which is, it's like we're not super regulated in Arizona. And so there's a good and a bad side of that. And they have a lot of optimism about how good that can be. So.
Yep. Well, and I mean, just, full transparency, like the libertarian movement has a strong influence here. And so I think it was really good to have them on and have Steve on in particular and kind of get a little bit of that perspective of Arizona and not necessarily politics per se, but ideology, right? Like kind of a perspective on freedom and liberty and what does that look like when it plays out in government?
Yeah, and then do we see that as a strength in Arizona? If so, do we embrace it, or do we? It's almost like it'd be fun to see Arizona choose a direction, and but so that's and that goes directly to the AZ brand, right? What's Arizona's brand? So after that,
then we had David Kosan and Jeff Watson come on. And talk about the book that the two of them and I are writing.
Yes,
about
switch
branding.
To third person. Right, so we had Mike.
Geez. We're going to do that again.
I was the host of this one. We had Mike, and we had, and we're lucky enough to have Mike join us right now today. Welcome, Mike. Yeah. So you guys are writing a book.
We're writing a book about branding.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So we've had this philosophy since day one with Resound of like, hey, people are remarkable, right? They're intrinsically remarkable. So why can't the organizations that they form, right? Organizations are just people getting together, common set of values, common purpose, common vision, trying to execute on that together. Why can't that also be remarkable? And that was kind of the genesis of our idea of like why brand matters, right? There's a whole bunch of, I think, practical business reasons why brand matters, but I think there's also a philosophical reason that brand matters because it's about identity. It's about who you are and expressing the real you, right? The real set of values and perspective, beliefs, history, context that forms who you are, both as an individual, so individual kind of identity, and then corporate identity, right? Corporately, how do we express our identity together as an organization on a mission? And that was kind of the genesis of Resound. It's why we do what we do. And so we've talked a lot about it over the last almost 11 years. We've written about it a lot in blog posts, and a lot of those are just buried and scattered throughout our blog. And this last year, we were like, hey, let's finally put it all together into one kind of complete package. So that's what the genesis of the book was. We've been working on it. It's been a really interesting process writing our first book together and learning how to do that. I think that's been really cool and intriguing and obviously slower than I want it to be. But from what I hear, that's just what it takes to write a book. It always takes longer than you think it will. So,
yeah. And I got to interview you guys to going through the chapters and generating some of the content. I thought it was really interesting. And I think the world needs you as you are. That remains one of my favorite things about Resound because we live that out in the everyday, and we believe that about all we believe that about everyone around us. Kendra's remarkable. Did you know that, Kendra?
She should. It's on my t-shirt.
Yeah. And she's been given a t-shirt too.
She will be given a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I've made a verbal contract that I will get her a t-shirt, but I have not fulfilled on that contract yet. So
he's good for it. It's one of our brand values.
She knows where I work.
Yeah. So
it was a good conversation. Anytime we have, David and Jeff on, I think is great because one of the things I appreciate about them is just the kind of depth at which they want to think about just business and brand and marketing and advertising. And I think all these things that at one level, it's like, it's just about selling products, right? And that can be both superficial and can put you, I think, in a really bad place, right? You can do some really terrible things in the process of trying to sell stuff. But when you think about it more in context of like No, we're an organization on a mission. We have a purpose. We have a set of values. We have an identity that we want to be true to, and we want to serve people well through that identity. Now, all of a sudden, there's a reason for being beyond making a buck, right? Or just making sure product gets shipped, or making sure that everyone's busy this quarter.
Well, yeah, I mean, you walk, if you go, like, let's say you go downtown or something, and, you can tell people with, they seem focused, they dress a certain way, they treat people a certain way. Like, you can tell a lot about people, and it's just, those are external things, right? I mean, these are external things that help you understand their brand, Like, it's like it's almost like everybody has a kind of a brand and a
you have a brand,
reputation,
whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
Whether you're working on it or not. So that was a good conversation. I'm excited for the book. It's coming out sometime Q1, maybe.
Yeah.
March.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing. Every single chapter in that book has a point. And it's really, it's going to be a solid read.
That's why there's only 7 chapters.
Yeah.
Because we just really don't have 8 points. But it does have a point, but not 8 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are the guests. Do we want to talk about a couple of headlines?
Yeah, let's talk about some headlines this year.
Do we want to? And these are just kind of things that we notice. They're not necessarily the 3 top headlines, but they're 3 things that we just kind of noticed. And one of them was, according to Inc. magazine, we are the
authority on everything.
Yeah. So this is true. We are the number 9th U.S. cities for starting a business.
All right, so we're
number 9.
9th best.
9th best.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mean that means we cracked the top 10.
Yep.
So if you were like, I'm going to start a business, where should I do that? We would probably show up on the Google search.
Yep.
We should be on the first page.
Yeah, I mean, if Inc. magazine has any influence at all.
Yep.
I mean, San Jose is like after us.
That's kind of a big deal.
Seattle's after us. Boston is after us.
Yeah. Take that, Boston.
LA, of course.
A bunch of Celtics.
Madison, of course. Orlando,
everything is an NBA reference, Chris.
Tampa, of course. Sorry.
You're like, I'm ignoring you, as you should.
I'm just looking at all the these rad cities that we're in front of,
I know. That's awesome.
I don't know Palm Bay.
Who did we not beat out, though?
Yeah.
That's what really matters. Who's our competition?
Are we ready?
All right, shoot. Hey, I'm going to write down our competition. Let's do this.
Hey, Portland is down.
Yeah, get them off the list.
Yeah. Boo, Portland.
Boo, Portland.
Just kidding. I have roots and a lot of friends in Portland.
No, we have friends in Portland.
Love
Portland's cool.
It is cool.
It's a great place to visit. Just don't start your business there.
Yeah, just believe what you see on Portlandia. Don't be surprised.
People think it's a comedy. It's a documentary. It is a documentary.
Okay, San Diego.
Somebody should do a Phoenician show.
Yeah.
Dude.
Phoenicia.
There
you go. I like it. I'm nodding in agreement. Yes, he's writing it down. Coming your way.
Simple.
Netflix.
Find a producer with deep pockets and no sense of logic.
Yeah, I said Netflix.
You said Netflix. They are desperate right now. They're going to get killed.
Are they?
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Maybe
we should do some predictions, but
maybe we should market to Disney Plus. San Diego beat us.
San Diego. It's tough to beat surfer culture. Like when you can have your startup and surf right from like the back patio of your superly well-funded startup.
But all right, so call me a skeptic, but every single time I hear people talk about how, oh yeah, I just I have my office and then I'm like a block from the beach. I'm like, you hear that enough, you're like, you start doing the math and you're thinking like, how much can exist within a block of the beach after all the times I've heard that, so I'm just wondering if maybe there's a little exaggeration sometimes with the whole San Diego thing.
So I did know a guy who had moved from Phoenix to San Diego and had an office. He lived and had an office because I think he worked kind of figured out an office in his living space that was like 3 blocks from the beach. Like he could walk. And I remember meeting up with him when we were on vacation over there, and we happened to be staying in the same, like basically the same beach area. And I was like, dude, Greg, like I'm here. Let's hang out. And we just like met up while like I was hanging on the beach with my family. And I was like, yeah, what's it like? He's like, it's good. It's definitely not like what you think it is. It's not like you're out surfing every single day. Like he's like, there's a lot of work to do. And some days he's like, I actually don't like having, like, knowing the beach is right there. He's like, it makes sometimes the work depressing. So there's a downside to, I think, that kind of aspect. And then we were just talking with somebody today who was mentioning, and of course this is, anecdotal. So let's go run an actual survey, quantifiable survey. But it was saying anecdotally, there's a lack of kind of like getting stuff done in San Diego. And maybe it's like, maybe there's a little too much surf culture.
Well, if you can't get anything done there, you might move to Charleston.
Oh, Charleston. I liked your segue.
Where funding takes a back seat to founding, according to Inc.
Okay, so that just means there's no money. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it makes the list despite the lack of money. Well, they have little numbers here. Number 1, net business creation.
Okay,
Okay. So
people are they're creating businesses.
And number 10 in job creation.
Okay.
So it's not like these businesses are starting and then not doing anything. And then San Francisco is number 5.
Yeah, we knew that one was coming.
Yeah. And it says, like, I laugh because it's second in wage growth. It's like, yeah, but it's first in expense, cost of living growth.
Yeah, it's like your wage growth can't meet your, like, living cost growth. Yeah. So who cares? Like, the only reason you have wage growth is because it can't keep up with the real estate.
Yeah. Well, and if that's expensive, you could always move to Boise, because that's next on the list. And it says, that's a brilliant segue, because you can buy 4 houses in Boise for the price of 1 in San Francisco, according to this. Yeah.
But let's be brutal here. It's Boise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Roger that. Yeah. But
that's their tagline. But it's Boise.
It's still Boise. That's how they get you to stay in San Francisco. Denver
is cool.
Yeah.
Dang it.
It says it's like San Francisco and Palo Alto, but with cows. Deep cutting analysis on that one. Durham, South Carolina, if you want a more southern twist, again, going back to our friends in the South.
Durham, South Carolina. Did I get that wrong before? I must have. Yeah. Durham? For some reason, I thought it was North Carolina.
It's a Carolina. I don't know which one.
It's all good.
Salt Lake City is number 2.
Yep, Salt Lake.
And
they're hopping right now.
The number 1 in high growth company density, number 1 job creation, and then number 3 in population growth. Well, that's the best they can do. Population growth, number 3. Come on, we all know who's in Salt Lake City, and why isn't the population growing faster? What religion?
What was that? A wink? Was that a double eye
wink? That was a wink to let you know, like, there's something in this. What I'm saying, you need to pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Population growth. That's not from outside the state.
It's almost. All right, I'm just saying.
They're having a lot of babies.
They believe in babies.
They believe in babies.
They believe in, and so I just expect more, is all I'm saying. And then number 1, you guys ready for number 1?
I'm ready.
If you haven't looked it up already, because it's easily available on the internet, Austin.
Yeah, Austin.
I really think that
they got great music though.
I think it's the barbecue. I think they bribed the Inc. magazine with barbecue.
Just shipped them a whole bunch of Texas barbecue.
Shipped him, flew him out for the barbecue.
Took
him to like the best barbecue
places. And then they went
places.
to Austin City Limits and they listened to some amazing live music.
They probably got Willie.
And
they probably got Willie to meet him. And
it's all over. Like this is it's not even a contest.
Yeah.
They're head and shoulders above everyone else because of these things. What was their business excuse for making them number 1?
Yeah, what I want to know is they're 3rd in population growth, but I thought Salt Lake City had that distinction. 3 population growth. Yeah. So I don't know what that's all about. 27th net business creation.
Maybe they tied.
Yeah, maybe tied for 3. And then number 4 in early stage funding deals, which is not super
funding
surprising,
deals.
right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
But we're in the top 10.
All right. So you want to know.
We beat out San Jose.
We did. And so you want to know what we're good at.
What are we good at? I want to know.
Inc.
Like, what did they say?
You're not going to like this.
Never will.
Low cost.
I know.
And low regulations.
Oh, that's interesting.
Help this desert flower blossom. Number 2 in net business creation, right? We've talked about that on this podcast before, how easy it is, right? Number 7, population growth. And then number 9 in job creation.
It's pretty good.
Not bad, Phoenix. So, and part of the analysis is that Phoenix benefits from the high cost of living in other places. New York City, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially I think it's interesting that of that list, what are major metro areas that would compete like at the same kind of scale of size? Like Denver, maybe. Denver major metro. On that top 10 list, San Francisco, obviously, Bay Area, but like Charleston, Durham, even Salt Lake, like these are really not like massively huge metro areas. So in some sense, it's like I'd actually like if you kind of resorted this and you sectioned it out and said, no, we're not looking at smaller kind of suburban or tangential, like even in Austin, right, is not like a major metro area.
Yeah, and I'm not sure of their methodology. What do they say, like 100,000 people in the city or more? I didn't get that deep in the article.
Yeah.
But.
No, I'd love to like dig in on this and kind of do that analysis and be like, okay, these cities, like how much is their total major metro area population? How much, like, what's their major metro, like geographical size? Obviously, we kind of kill on that because we're very sprawling. You kind of need to have both population and size.
Well, going back to the whole first biggest city, Phoenix. Number 2 is Tucson, but then number 3 comes back to the
major metro area,
greater Phoenix area, which is Mesa. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to kind of think through that a little bit more. But I'm just glad we cracked the top 10.
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty cool. And I would say if you're thinking about starting a business, Phoenix is a really cool place to do that, not least because I think we're at this really cool nexus. We talked about that a little bit already with our conversation back, what was that, 6 months ago with Brandon Clark.
Yep.
Like this really interesting nexus of cultures.
Yep.
And you could argue San Diego's got a really interesting nexus of culture, but I don't know. I think there's something really interesting about where we are and kind of who's here
And I would love to talk about some of our other articles because one of them had Doug Ducey being pretty proactive in bringing vetted immigrants. Like basically saying we'll take them, kind of thing. And then we had another article look at we're out of time.
Yeah, real quick. What was that?
Yeah, so Doug Ducey. So the headline is that's the McSally one where she brought a bunch of defense spending in. Okay, let me switch to Doug Ducey. So Dems praise Governor Doug Ducey for welcoming refugees to Arizona. So, and these aren't. I don't think that it's any comers. I think it's what the article said. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey was cheered from both sides of the political aisle after telling President Donald Trump's administration the state will keep welcoming refugees vetted by U.S. agencies for resettlement in the United States. So
yeah, and that's interesting because I think there's a larger piece to that. Maybe we can, as we're looking at 2020, and I think you and I are working on some of our strategy for like, what do we want to really dig in on and what is Arizona all about? What's the unique identity here? One thing I always hear is how welcoming Arizona is to just people not from Arizona, right? Mm-hmm. So whether you're coming from the Midwest or you're coming from California or the, back east or like even, refugees coming from other countries, right? There's a sense, and I'm sure you could talk to people and say, oh, it could be better, right?
Sure.
But in general, like I hear from so many people are like, oh no, it was like super easy to get integrated and get to know people and kind of find my community and find people that resonate with me, or at least are interested in similar things to me. And I hear that all the time in all sorts of different contexts that I'm in across the valley. So that might be something interesting. Welcoming.
Yeah.
And that story kind of fits with that. That's interesting.
So do we have 3 hypotheses to test now?
I wrote a couple down.
Sweet.
I don't know if I came to 3. So we had some sense of like measured or sustainable, like a value of measured sustainable growth versus hyper hustle.
Yeah. Yep.
That was my antithesis. And then another one, we didn't specifically talk about it today, but it's come up a lot on the show, is bootstrapping, right? This sense of like, do it yourself, right? Make it happen.
Okay. So we might want to ask that question a little more. Maybe see if we can get people to talk about that.
Yeah. And
Phoenix.
I wonder if there's a link there with when we talk about like lack of regulation and the sense of independence.
Yep.
Maybe that regulation is actually a response to something that's already here, which is this desire like, no, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me how to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And then we talked about welcoming.
Yep.
Like, hey, you're from somewhere else. Yeah, let's figure it out.
Those are 3 wonderful they're not hypotheses yet, but
no, they
can quickly turn them into them.
Is Arizona these 3 things? Is there something else that is more indicative?
Yes, Arizona is these 3 things. Prove or disprove.
Yeah.
So is that it?
I think
is
that's
this
it.
a wrap? This is a good year. This is a good year.
This was a really good year.
So this is it for another episode of AZ Brandcast and another year of AZ Brandcast. Crowd noise. That's our crowd. That's not a track. Where we delve into the makings of remarkable brands here in the state of Arizona. Mike, Kendra, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us this year.
Yeah.
I'm joining me and I'm joining you.
Yeah. So, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. So if you like more of AZ Brandcast, you can subscribe to all our episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. To contact Mike or I, just find out more about the AZ Brandcast, check out our website at azbrandcast.com. There you can also get on our newsletter list and make sure that you never miss another episode or update from us. A special thank you to our producer, Kendra of Phoenix Business RadioX, and our gracious hosts here at Max 6 Conscious Workspace.
I also want to give a special shout out to Karen Nowicki of Phoenix Business RadioX. She has been our main producer. Kendra's been stepping in the last few episodes, but our main producer this year.
Yep.
Through our collaboration with Conscious Capitalism Arizona, it's been a fantastic experience having them produce the show and put it out on their network. And we are both excited and sad. It's bittersweet. We are going to be taking our show in a little different direction, which means from a production standpoint, we're actually going to be pulling it in-house. And Sam's going to be helping us produce each of our episodes each month as we look at 2020. Karen will be freed up to go take on some even more amazing shows on Phoenix Business RadioX because she's awesome.
That's right.
And she's got a great program here. And I'm going to do a little plug for Phoenix Business RadioX because I've gotten a lot of value out of it. It's been awesome, I think.
Are you tearing up, Mike? It's okay.
I'm not going to tear up.
It's not like we're never going to see Kendra again.
No, we'll see Kendra. We'll see Karen. They're here. We're around. But here's what I'm going to say. For anyone out there listening who either is starting a podcast or thinking about starting a podcast, and you want to leverage your podcast to meet people and make really meaningful connections, either for yourself or your business or your organization, I highly, highly recommend checking out Phoenix Business RadioX. This is a great, great platform to make that process really easy, right? That's, I think, been the benefit for us being on the network.
Yep.
And so I would highly recommend checking it out. You can obviously find them on our live cast here, or if you're not on the live cast, just Google Phoenix Business RadioX and you will find their website. You can get in touch with Karen if you want to find out more about what it means to host a show on her network and how to make that happen. So just want to encourage people to think about that as they're looking at what you're doing for 2020.
That's right. And don't forget, as we go into the new year, and as Mike's shirt says, and as Kendra's shirt is about to say, you are remarkable.